So, number two, again, on the topic of rejection and fear. So, let's crush rejection and fear. Leap from the side hustle to becoming free. And what that means is like for a lot of people, one of the biggest moves that they can make in their life is if you're in a situation where you're employed and you have a safety net in terms of you show up for work, you get paid a certain amount, and that is your guarantee of what you get paid each month, and you can work with that. You might have to have some trade-offs with that, and the trade-off traditionally is that you don't feel that you're heard. You might have politics. You might be working with people that are in there that you don't necessarily want to work with. You may have a manager or a boss that isn't as good at the job as you, and they're telling you how to do it, which is a surefire way to rile you up. You can also face a situation where you want to spread your wings. I mean, one of the things in an employment situation is they tend to be quite, you know, they will keep you in a cage, keep you in a tight confines. You are to be led and not to lead in most cases. And there's not a great autonomy around making decisions. So lots of people feel trapped and their kindred spirit can't be free. So moving from that safety net into something that isn't guaranteed is often not the biggest leap in terms of what you do in your life, but it's certainly one of the biggest mental leaps. And becoming free is having the confidence that you can do what you're good at. And one of the things that, when I made that jump extremely early. So the great thing is that you have a bit of arrogance of youth that you think, hey, it's going to work out. In my own situation, I didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't have a lot to lose. And I thought if I don't make it work, then I can always end up doing what I'm doing. And I was reasonably good at it. So I didn't feel the burden of, oh, this could be the end. And if you've got a family, a mortgage, people to support, then you can turn that round to be your greatest driver, because a lot of the fear is, if I can't support them, I am a failure. But what happens if you can become free? What happens if this side hustle can now be your main job, and you can make a lot more money doing that, and you have much more freedom? So making that move can really actually amplify and benefit your situation if you let it. But to do that, you do need to take the leap. So you need to switch your perspective of this thing being your safety net, being the job that you're in, and then the this thing being highly risky, which is the new venture that you want to take. And what I would say is just start to switch your perspective, ask the sort of questions: what happens if you do well? What happens if you do start to get the result? And this is where you start to see a massive change in how you perceive things. So that would be what I would recommend for number two. Number three, wow, is this a big one? Now, in number three, what this is when people have had great success. Now, following on from, if you've had a degree of, or you make the leap from employment or corporate world or whatever it is that you're doing, you go and start a side hustle, a business, you do pretty well, you get a great result. In fact, not typically the results are way beyond what you thought was possible, because as momentum builds, you get more and more results as you experience what can be done from the point of when you're involved in it, because sometimes it's hard to see that when you begin. So you can limit what you think is possible. And as you rapidly progress through, you inevitably can do way more than you thought, because as you get more involved, you can see the opportunities. And that's the whole idea of being an entrepreneur, that you take advantage of those opportunities and make it a success. But when you get to that success point, something happens: is the people take the foot off the gas, and they lose a bit of hunger, and they get a little complacent. And it happens, it's a well trodden path. And if that sounds like you're not alone. And one of the things that you feel, you can have money, you can have success, you can have, all the toys, the glitz and the glam, but there's something aching away inside of you. And that is that you are missing that edge, that thing that drives you. There's this feeling of thrill and growth, and you feel that you're living at close to your potential when you are pushing yourself towards something and you're pushing your limits. And then, despite having all the toys and all the glitz, the glam, the cash, all the material things, you're not living on that edge again. And that's the thing. You're like, what's missing? And that's what it is. and it's about time to re-engage. And it's probably, if when I work with people to get them to the next level and to mentor them to tap into that potential, this is probably the one that's the biggest of them all in terms of where people will stagnate. So it's the most frequent one that needs to be handled, and it can be handled extremely well to get an extremely good result. However, it's one of the ones that it's so subtle that it's very, very difficult to work out what to do. And it sometimes you need someone else to be a sounding board to bounce those ideas off of. So what I would recommend is if this feels like you, go to someone you trust who's ideally been where you've been or has a great experience in understanding performance, and speak to them about it and sound your ideas off of them. Because what happens is you start to open up the conversation. When you open up that conversation, you'll start to re-engage that magic that's within you. That potential start to come out to the fore. And my own personal experience with this is that I remember hitting a particular milestone when I was coming through the investment ranks, shall we say, and I'd set a big milestone, hit the target, and then just sort of took my foot off the gas. And I noticed it myself. I bought myself a supercar, thought everything was going great. And it didn't instantly hit me, because you're like, yes, everything's amazing, it's great, and what a fantastic sort of result that I've had, but not realizing that I was actually taking the momentum out of myself, and that was the thing that was eating away at me. And it was so subtle, I couldn't work out why I felt off, why I felt that there was something missing. And that something missing was that I'd taken the foot off the gas, and I had to go back through that. When I figured that out, I had to set myself a much larger goal. And I don't mean goals in terms of financial goals, I mean goals in terms of personal growth. And when I say personal growth, I don't mean I went out to the woods and held a tree and, that type of thing. I mean, personal growth is in, right, I have this ability. How can I make best use of it? And I can be doing something for someone else. I can be doing something. I can be helping others. I can be passing on my wisdom. I can be taking on a new hobby or a new skill or a new talent or developing myself in some way. And that's what I did. I took the skills that I had and figured out where I could apply them. And I went from an industry that I knew everything about, and I'd done everything top to bottom, back to front, left to right, and done everything inside and out, the whole kit and caboodle. And I went into an industry that I knew nothing about, but I had the particular skills. And then I went from knowing everything in the room to I was in rooms where I knew nothing. And that then sparked and ignited my interest. And then it connected what I knew previously and the things that I was learning in this new industry, and then joined them together. And it infinitely made me a better investor, and I got better results. But again, that's the flashy sort of material things. What it done was it gave me growth. So if that sounds like you, go and find something that can challenge you and can push that potential that you have, and go and start to grow.